Hello and welcome to another showcase of a game I just finished, and I was eager to show how it works and what it has. As you can see, it's not a small game. When I started making it, I was thinking like it's gonna be a smaller game, but it's kind of big. It has a lot of stuff. So in this video, I'm just gonna explain what the game is about and all the components, and then in the next video I'm gonna play one mission. So this game is about battles in the sky during the World War One, and you will be able to play single player or multiplayer if you wish. So it's basically a solo game, but it could be play multiplayer with some kind of few changes. So you're gonna play as one of the pilots. You're gonna either be a French or the British pilot, and depending what nation you choose, you have the different planes to fly on. Now this game is set on 1915 to 1916. Now you can see here a big board where lots of stuff is going to happen. You can actually see that the year is going to go up to 1918. So there is a possibility for expansions and more planes, more pilots, and even with the change to the map, like expansion. So you just place the map over this, like overlay. You can play like a German also pilots. So how it works? Well, first of all, it's based on the card system, so it's a card driven, so lots of cards to draw and resolve. It's more of a narrative game. There is some dice rolling. Well, actually there is a lots of dice rolling. The dice you're gonna roll is gonna be d10 plus d6 for most of the test, but normally sometimes you're just gonna roll even d10 or a d6. There are some charts here for special missions. Actually, let's go through the components. So let's start with the map. So on the main map, we have as you can see, our battlefield. The blue little air bases belongs to Allies, the red ones to Germans. Now, since I only have Allies right now, these are like your starting positions during the game. But once we get the Germans on, these are also going to be German air bases you can use. The map has a waypoints, these circular like things, and area or sectors, these hexes. It's important when you play a campaign because basically there is some area control. Actually, it's called air superiority. So whoever has a more air superiority till the end of the campaign, you either win or lose the game. Here on the map we have this air superiority track. It goes either toward the Germans or to the Allies. There are some dice rolls, as you can see, 10 plus here. This is what we use to move over the map, and to know which are starting air base. We have two things which are used during the battle: in your side part and on your tail. So enemy can be either in front of you or behind you. It's quite simple. I mean, how the battle works. Here a little chart that's going to represent how much you need to roll, and roll in these games are equal or higher. So if you roll lower, you basically fail the roll. So how much you need to roll to hit and how much you need to roll to evade. To hit when the enemy is in front of you, in your sight. To evade when the enemy is behind you. So something like attack and save rolls. And these are based on ranks. So and the first rank is always you. So you always testing this against the enemy rank. So if I'm a rookie against the ace, I need 12 plus to hit an ace, and I need 10 plus to evade him. So as you can see, if you're a rookie, it's going to be really hard to hit or evade ace. But it changes as you level up. Another thing we have here is the enemy queue. That's like when you put enemies, if you have more enemies that you have like allies, so some enemies are still in flight around you and they're gonna affect your rolls. As you can see, like one enemy, it's not gonna affect much. If you have two enemies more than your number, then your evade is going to be -1. Three enemies, you have -1 to hit evade. It just basically simulates what happens when you, like, if you engage in a duel with someone, but there are also other enemies around and they, like, you know, harassing you and you have problems with them. Then we have this time track here and the campaign track. So time goes from up to like by the weeks, so you can go from 1 week to 4 weeks. The moment you must go to the first week, then it changes into, and by the way I need a track for the months, it changes to the month. So for instance, after 4 weeks you go 1 month and so on. So if you go to December and then to January, you go to 1916. It's going to be important during the campaigns, because right now there is only like a dynamic campaign which is completely random, but I'm thinking to put more campaigns that actually happen, like campaign on the Somme or Verdun, and you know, which is gonna be like with the fixed time and different things you need to do. So the campaign can be short, medium, or long. This is where we track that. So a short campaign is only 3 months. Okay, the medium campaign in 6, and the long campaign in 12 months. So basically a year. We have a placeholders for the weather cards, and when we talk about the weather cards, let's actually check them. So these are the weather cards. At the start of each month, you shuffle this deck if you don't have any more cards in it, and then you place 4 below on these placeholders. So this will be your weather for each week. So if I'm on the first week, this is my weather. As you can see, hard rain. Then after that, in the second week, I flip this, so we don't have a hard rain anymore, but we have a heavy fog right now. And then after that, we have a clear sky, and then in stormy, as you can see. So this weather is going to affect your hit and other rolls, and it's going to also affect your wingmans. So it's interesting. Basically, you're never going to have the same weather, because you don't shuffle and place cards like immediately. You only shuffle when you have to like draw cards and you don't have any. So you're going to see all kind of weather during the 1 month, that's for sure. Then we have our pilots. This is a pilot deck. We have a French and British pilots. So 4 French and 4 British pilots to choose from. Now you can choose, or you can just go randomly. If you choose a French pilot, you're gonna actually fly on the Newport. Okay. If you choose the British, you're gonna start on Airco, DH2. Now, playing as the British is a bit harder, because this plane is a little wonky. It's prone to stall, but it's actually pretty maneuverable. So I was reading some stuff when I was making a game. It's actually, it was prone to stall and spins, and it was a problematic plane for flying, but it was highly maneuverable and quite good for 1915. Of course, Newport was a bit better plane, so that's basically, depending what you choose, you're going to be either a little harder or easier for you. Now all these pilots have plus or minus modifiers to their hit or evade, and they all start as a rookie. Also on the other side, you can see what you're starting with. So this guy starts with a 1 skill card. He has a 0 flows, 0 experience starting. Also, he can't change aircraft until reaching rank A, and you can start on A1, B1, or C1 airbase. So that's gonna give you some easier access to the waypoints, basically, and it's kind of important during the campaign. So yeah, these are the pilots. There are 8 pilots to choose from. Then there are NPCs, actually your squadron. And in your squadron you have aces, British aces, French aces. Then you have some veterans, also British and French. And of course lots of rookies, British and French. So how this works, at the beginning of your campaign you're gonna form your squadron depending of your nation. Later on it's gonna actually be mixed a bit, because it's gonna be possible to have even a British or a French in the same squadron. And depending of your game difficulty, your squadron either is gonna be consisted most of the rookies, or you're gonna have some veterans, or maybe even aces. You know, the hardest oops, I actually deleted that. The hardest difficulty you choose, the less actually the hardest difficulty you choose, the less aces and veterans you're gonna have, because they are really helpful. They also fly with you. They have some stats here. Now the points, I added this because I'm planning some campaigns where you're gonna actually can spend points to buy them. So as you can see, veterans cost 4, I think rookies cost 2, and it's exponential by 2, I think. Aces are probably 6, yeah. So this is the points you need to spend to buy them. This experience 7 here is how much experience they need to spend, because they also get experience as they down planes to advance their rank. So if these guys manage to down 7 planes, he's gonna go from veteran to ace. And we have a tokens here, they're double-sided, so once he turns to ace, you can see his previous stats doesn't really matter, he gets the new one. +1 to shoot, +1 to evade, and he's an ace now. So this is how these tokens are also used for you. So you start as a rookie, you have some minuses, but the moment you become veteran you don't have any plus or minus modifiers, but if you turn to ace you have plus. Oops. So yeah, these are the tokens that we use to advance through the ranks. Alright, so what else have on these NPCs? They have a WVH, that's a Wingman Assistance. So sometimes Wingman can assist you if you roll this much. Like if you have an enemy on your tail, you can call for the assistance, and if you pass this test, the enemy can be confused and move from your tail. Or if you have an enemy in your sight and you call for the assistant, you can actually get an additional attack on the enemy, like your Wingman is helping you. Alright, so those are pilots, NPCs, and weather. Let's see what else we have here. So let's start with the skill cards. There's a deck of 32 skill cards. These skills, either you're gonna maybe start with some, or as you get more experience you can spend experience to, you know, get skills, become better. So for instance, this skill cost 5 experience to buy. Now during your month you're gonna probably get some experience doing missions and downing planes, and then at the end of the month you're gonna shuffle this deck. I mean, it's gonna be shuffled already, but you're gonna draw 3 cards, and that's basically what you can try to upgrade, what skill you can buy for that month. So if I have enough experience, I can buy one of the skills, the rest goes either to the bottom of the deck, or I can put one on the top, so I can like make like my skill tree a bit. But it's really simplified, like buy a skill. Let's say I buy awareness, I want strategies on top, this goes on bottom, and then if I survive the next month I'm gonna draw another 3, and so on and so on. The skill cap is 6 cards, but you can, when you get to ace, you can actually exchange cards if you wanna fine-tune your pilot. But besides skill, we also have 16 flows. These actually are really bad for you, and you actually have to spend experience to remove them. And there is a possibility to get some of them during the game, but usually it doesn't happen. I mean, you're gonna start with the flow, but eventually you're gonna remove it. Now, there is a chance that you do so poorly that the whole week you don't do any missions, like you fail every missions. If that happens, you immediately get the flow at the beginning of the next month. So if you're doing really poorly, you're gonna get some flaws. Then it's gonna be even harder for you to do good. Then we have a big mission deck of 58 cards. These ones is gonna, give you missions. And by the way, all these cards have ranks. So for instance, this card here is a rank for aces, and this one here is for veterans. So based on your campaign, you're gonna probably remove some cards of the deck and then add them later on. So you're gonna start like with the missions for the rookie or veteran, then it's gonna be harder and harder as the campaign goes. We also have the enemy deck. This is the deck from which you draw when you need to face the enemies. It also is based on the ranks. And there are 3 types of engagements actually with the enemy. There is an ambush, advantage, and head-to-head. In ambush, you always have -1 to one of your rolls called maneuverability. And if you fail the roll, the enemy is gonna just be behind you. He's gonna ambush you. If you don't fail the roll, you can actually get the enemy in your sight. For the advantage, you do the same, and you start the enemy on your side, but if you fail, he's gonna actually go to your tail. And in head-to-head, you don't have plus or minus, you just roll and you're gonna see where it's gonna start. On these cards there are a number of enemies, like this is a really high number, but this is for the rank ace, so 6 enemies. And there are some intel that usually dictates which of these tokens you need to pull. So for instance, here are some tokens with the enemies. There is of the rookies, veterans, and aces, of course. So as you can see, this intel says here, enemies from this engagement can't be of rank R, so they can't be rookies. So only veterans and aces is going to be in this squadron that ambushed you. Then we have the event deck. Now how this event deck works is eventually you will have to go to one of the waypoints. At the middle point, so on this little white pad, when you place your plane on the middle points, you're gonna draw one of the event deck. Okay, so let's see what kind of events we have. And they're also ranked, and you're gonna build this deck depending on the game difficulty. So you draw it, you do some test, something happens, so on and so on. Now when you get to the waypoints, depending on your mission, you're gonna either fight the enemy or gonna roll some dice to actually check are there going to be any enemies there. And actually let's see the one of the missions deck. So for instance, here's a mission, it's a patrol. The number here on the image tells you how many of the NPC pilots you can get, so that's your like wingman. This is how much experience you get if you manage to finish the mission. Basically you just need to survive. And this one is easy, it just says fly to waypoint ? And destroy all enemy aircraft you find there. Now these question marks, some of these missions have a question mark because as you can see all the waypoints are numbered. So in this case I would roll a d10, I would get a 1, so my mission is actually here. Then I would take this little token, place it here, and place 1 on my mission. So I know this mission is based around this waypoint. Now each week you're gonna draw 3 missions and you're gonna place them on your map, and then you're gonna do 2 of them. That's how it works. So one will not be done. Although there are some abilities that can give you option to even do a third mission. So that's kind of important to you can choose your missions, but you're gonna probably choose them depending on the sectors you want to clear. As you can see, these numbers gonna be filled with some tokens. That's like enemy area control. Actually, there's air superiority in the sector. So if I do the mission that is like let's say we have some enemy superiority here. Let's say it's 3. I'm gonna use these little cubes. Alright. I'm planning to make some tokens. I didn't make them yet. So I'm just gonna stack 3 cubes. So if I have a mission that is like around the sector I need to clear, and I manage to finish this mission with a success, then one of these is going to be turned to other side, and then if I do it again, it's going to be removed. So that's how you remove the enemy superiority. Now we're not going to use the cubes, of course. We're going to use tokens, double-sided tokens. I'm just trying to explain you how it's going to work. So basically, you need to lower their air superiority there, which then affect the roll that happens here at the end of the month, because for each sector that has like still that enemy still has air superiority on them, this roll is gonna have -1, and you need 10 plus just to keep it where it is. If you successfully roll, this will go toward your side. If you fail the roll, it's gonna go here. So naturally, the more sectors you have that are not cleared, it's gonna be easier to fail the roll, and this will go toward the right. And if it gets to the German side completely, you just lost your campaign, your air superiority. Some campaigns gonna be well, dynamic one is the moment it comes to here you lose, but some campaigns gonna have like a time frame. So like you're gonna check how you're doing with the air superiority by the end of the maybe 1916, or by the end of the May of 1916. You know, it's gonna be set by the timer. Like, so as you can see here, there is an intel. It usually provides you some things how you need to draw enemies. It says draw 2 cards from the enemy deck and use the one that has more aircraft. So how this mission actually works: so the patrol is here. I'm starting here. So naturally, I have to get there by moving. So I can move to waypoint 8 and then to 1. That would be the best way to do it, basically. Maybe the shortest way. Now I can also go through 7 to 2 to 1 if I want to, but I'm gonna have more events that way. So maybe sometimes you want to avoid that. So I'm gonna fly from one waypoint to another, and once I reach this space here, I'm gonna draw 2 cards from the enemy deck and use the one that has more aircraft. So in this case, I would draw 2 cards from here and use the one that has more aircraft. Simple as that. If I destroy our aircrafts there, or they actually run away, they can also run away, I successfully finished the mission, and then I just need to return home. Now in dynamic campaign, the moment you finish the mission, there's 2 things. Like if it is easy campaign, you just need to spend 1 fuel to return home, and we have some fuel tokens and ammo tokens that are used by your plane. I'm gonna explain that after this. But if you wanna play like a true pilot, you actually have to get back and have some more events as you getting back. Now the fuel is actually good, and let's talk about fuel and ammo, and let's talk about our plane actually. So as you can see, each plane has modules, these things here, and they have a sturdiness. So each of these modules uses a D6 as your to track the damage. So as you can see, your left wing starts with 3 sturdiness. Your right wing also 3. Let's say tail is 4, airframe is 5, and your engine is 3. Alright, so that's a starting, that's how your model starts. As you take damage, this will go, let's say you get hit in the tail, you're gonna go from 4 to 3, and then to 2, and then to 1, and if you need to go below that, you're basically your tail is completely destroyed, and then you have to roll for the crash. You can actually see here that the crash is 6+. So if you roll 6 or more, you're not gonna like completely die in the crash. You manage somehow to get your plane on the ground, but if you fail, you basically die. That's how it works. So crash is bad because even if you pass, you're gonna roll on the wound chart, but it's more bad if you completely fail. You're just gonna die. There is no save from the crash once you roll lower than 6. Your plane also has ammo and fuel. This one, Newport, starts with 6 ammo and 6 fuel. And as I said, you can spend the fuel to skip the events, of course. Now, depending on the event, so let's see. Here is the event deck. So there are 3 ranks of events, like rookie, veteran, and ace. Rookie events, you just spend 1 fuel. That's fine, you can do that. You can skip it by spending fuel. Veteran, you need to spend 2 fuel, and for ace, you need to spend 3. So the more, and you actually need a fuel, and I'll explain why. Because if you don't have a fuel to return home, well, you're gonna roll on the crash. Just gonna crash. Without fuel, your airplane is gonna crash. As long as you have a fuel, you not gonna roll for the crash. You can actually go and roll on this chart for landing, and you actually see you have a +1 if you have 2 or more fuel left. So the more fuel I have, I get a more easier landing. So that's one thing. Ammo is important. Now you can't never get like out of ammo and not be able to shoot. Ammo in this game is actually used for rerolls and to do additional attacks. So I can always spend ammo to reroll my attack I just done, and I can also spend ammo to add another attack. So for instance, I can attack twice if I spend 1 ammo. Normally I attack once. Well, actually, depending, you can see here, depending where the enemy in your sight is. So for instance, if he's right in front of me, I naturally have 2 attacks to do. And if I spend 1 more ammo, I can do 1 more attack, or I can reroll one of these 2. Here I have only 1 attack. Also I have some minuses to my hit. And this also works for the enemy, but enemy always have only 1 attack. The thing is, on some spaces, I actually have minus to evade. So it's harder for me to evade, depending where the enemy is. Alright, so let's see what else we have here. What I didn't explain. Oh yeah, maneuvers and the fate cards. So now you know how the mission works. Maneuvers are used during the fight, and they are used by you and by your enemies. So when it's used by me, I have this little chart that actually tells me what kind of maneuvers I can do if I have an enemy in my tail. And I'm going to explain a bit more when I play the mission. But simplify how it works. Basically, you choose a maneuver, draw a card. If you have that maneuver, you're going to test. I'm going to roll some dice. If you pass a test, good for you. If you fail a test, the enemy is going to change position. If you don't have maneuver at all, it's going to probably shoot at you. Enemy is going to do the same because they also try to avoid you. and the red ribbon is actually for the enemies. So I draw a card for the enemy, he's going hard right or left. I draw a card for myself. I do have a hard rifle left, so I following him. I need to pass a test. If I pass, he's gonna be directly in front of me, and I can shoot immediately. Basically, he didn't manage to avoid me, and so on and so on. So these maneuvers cards are used during fighting mostly. Well, not mostly. Well, they are used by you, not by your NPCs. There are 36 cards inside, and every time you need to reshuffle this deck, you lose 1 fuel. So the more, you know, flying around and missing an enemy and he missing you, and, you know, dueling, the more fuel you lose. Then we also have these fate cards. These are special cards that are used for there is something in this game called pilot's luck. So at the start of each mission, it's going to be either a good day for you and a bad day for you. Think about like that. Like maybe it's your numbers are up that week or not. There are 2 types. There are these black ones and the white ones. So you're gonna, at the start of the mission, you draw the fate card, and this is how much experience you're gonna get if you do not discard this card by the end of your mission. So if this stays in my position, and when I end my mission I get +3 experience. Well, that's quite nice. But there is also ongoing event with each card until it's discarded. So this says you also draw event cards when moving to waypoints. So I'm gonna have lots of events during that mission. Now I can always discard this card. You can always discard the fate card just to reroll dice. So that's quite nice. Now black ones are actually for the rerolls, but the white ones, the wounds, are much better because you just discard a card and pass a test. So they are like your saving cards. These ones could help you or not. These ones are helping you for sure. Okay, but these white ones works the same. You're gonna get +1 experience if you do not discard them. Also, they give you some more options. It says discard this boon and set mission waypoint to number of your choice. So if I want to change the waypoint, I can discard it, but I'm not gonna get the +1 experience, and I'm not gonna have a like 1 save throw for sure. Like it's gonna save me. Also, these fate cards are deciding are you actually managed to down your enemy or he's still in the air. So when you're shooting at the enemy, enemies don't have in this game these cheats here. They don't have like damage points or anything. So you're either gonna shoot your enemy or you're gonna miss him. And after you do your shooting, you're gonna draw a fate card. If it's black, you actually miss him. If it's white, actually no, if it's black, he's destroyed. If it's white, you missed, and the fight's gonna continue. Now with the NPCs, it's almost the same. So NPCs, when shooting at the enemy, they also roll for hit and evade, but if they shooting an enemy and get a black, the enemy is down. If they get a white, the enemy is managed to escape. Actually, he just changes position. Alright, I'm gonna explain that when we fight. I'm just showing the components. And what else we have? I think I show everything. The only thing I didn't show are these charts. So we have a landing chart, wound chart. That's if you are hit, and you can actually see here on your little sheet with your airplane, the pilot is number 6. The pilot doesn't have any sturdiness or anything, any kind of damage. Basically, the moment you are hit as a pilot, you're gonna roll on your wound chart, and then, well, depending on the roll, you're gonna either be dead, heavily wounded, bleeding, light wound, or just lucky. With the with the landing chart, depending if you have any damage on modules or if you have a bleeding wound, uh, really depends how you're going to affect your landing. And lastly, we have these charts with special missions. So there is a like bomber interception where you can actually gonna attack any bombers. There is balloon busting, then strafing the column on the ground, as you can see, and there is also strafing the enemy airfield, and there is one where you can actually attack the Zeppelin. Also, I'm going to explain that when I'm going to play the mission. And one more important thing is these enemy air bases actually affect your missions in this way. So if I have a mission on waypoint 7, I'm always going to have +1 plane from the enemy deck, because it's close to the enemy airfield and they always send more planes basically. So missions on these spots can be a bit harder than missions, let's say, on 6 or 10, because you're always going to have +1 more enemy plane. Same thing affects here. So if I have a mission number here like this patrol, and let's shuffle this and just get something. So if I have this patrol I need to do on the number 1, and I get there, and there is it's connected adjacent to the enemy airport, you can actually see that this amber is going to have 5 planes instead of 4, because 1 plane always coming from the airport. Like that's like they see something going on and they're sending some more planes. So you also need to take this into consideration when you're choosing your missions. Yeah, there are lots of stuff on this game. But for now, let's see what else we have. There are some dice we're gonna use, some cubes. There are penalty tokens. These ones you draw when you are wounded. We have these upgrade tokens. We have these to track the missions, and we have the cheats with the enemies. So there are all kind of rookie enemies, okay, with their statistics. There are veterans, and of course there are aces like Max Ritter von Muller. These are used in dynamic campaign, but in skirmish you can actually gonna just build a bag of them and use them. You're gonna see in the next video. So yeah, that's all the components. As you can see, there is lots of game here. It's not a small game. In the next video you're gonna see how it works, and anything can happen. You can die on your first mission, you can survive few months, then die hit by a flak. You never know what's gonna happen in this game. It's completely like narrative based. You know, you're gonna have stories to tell whatever missions you're gonna do. And once I get some expansions like more planes and more, when I make actual campaigns with the time limits and stuff, it's gonna be even more awesome than it is. So get my next video. I know this one is a bit longer, but I had to explain everything. In next video I'm just gonna play one mission. It's gonna be you know, just gonna take the pilot for my squadron, choose a mission and go. You're gonna see it's quite easy to play. It's not that complicated once you start. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.